Hi guys. Okay, we're going to do a little bit of home pour over methods, techniques of making coffee which you can make at home yourself. Not particularly expensive, not particularly complicated. We're going to show you how to do it, and we're going to compare it to our standard pour over method in the shop, which is the Clever Dripper. So in our store, this is the only one of these methods you can actually drink. However, we've brought these just for educational purposes. This is a Kalita wave dripper. It's a flat bottom dripper, as you can see at the bottom, as opposed to the Kalita. It's a flat bottom with 3 points of extraction. The Kalita is sorry, my apologies. The V60 is a conical device with 1 point of extraction, which will create a different flavor. And then what we've got over here is a traditional French press, nothing fancy. It's a Bodum French press, which does what it says on the tin. What I really want to make clear before we get going on this is I'm going to use a particular ratio today of 1 to 17.5. And I'm going to use this across all of these methods. And the reason I'm doing this is purely for simplification, okay? I know in an ideal world, we could refine the ratio for each one of these, but I want to make our videos accessible to as many people as possible, and I don't want to overcomplicate it. So I'm going to keep it nice and simple by using the same coffee bean. We're going to be using the Brazil Antonio Mazzo fermented coffee today. We're going to use the same ratio, and that's what I can remember. So we're just going to try and keep it nice and simple for educational purposes. So the first thing that you want to be doing, we have the luxury here in the shop of having reverse osmosis water filtration and hot water on demand at the temperature we want, which is 95 degrees right here. So if you're at home, what I'd be doing right now is pop the kettle on, get the water in. If you can set the kettle temperature, ideally that would be great. 95, 96 degrees, fantastic. If you can't, just boil it and let it cool down before making the coffee. And importantly, the water that we use here, because we have the filtration system, is good. If you're at home, we recommend using bottled water. Ideally here in the UK, the best water that I recommend is Tesco Ashbeck, which also happens to be one of the cheapest. Okay, so for the grind size, for all of these, you want to use a medium grind size for pour over. I'm going to show you what it looks like in a moment. We're going to start off with the French press. So here is our medium grind size. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pour all of the coffee in. Now with the French press, essentially it's the simplest of the techniques. You don't need to worry about pouring techniques. So it's quite simply, you get the coffee wet and leave it to, I'm going to set the timer here. Actually, I'm going to first, we're going to fill it up here. The smell coming out of this is fantastic. All those fermented, funky notes coming out. It's delicious. And what we can do here is we can give it a little agitation. Get all those flavors coming out. And you want to start the timer. We're going to set that at 4 minutes. Just let that brew there. Then I'm going to move on to the Kalita. Right, so importantly, with any paper filter, we're going to get the paper filter wet first. This is going to remove all of that nasty paper starchy flavor, and it's also going to bring your device up to temperature, whether it be glass, metal, ceramic, or whatever it may be. Okay, so this process is a little bit more complicated than the French press. This is going to be split into 3 different steps. First, we are going to, 3 different pours, I should say. The first pour is going to be called a bloom, which is purely to add water to prepare the base for the extraction. The second pour is going to be to agitate the coffee and start bringing out the flavors. And the last pour is going to go all the way to the end. So we're going to break this down. I'm going to try and keep this simple. The first pour is going to be roughly 50 grams of liquid, and we're going to let it run for about 30 seconds. The second pour, we're going to run 50 to 100 grams of water through, and we're going to let that process take about 30 to 45 seconds also. And then the last pour, you can go all the way to the end, okay? So first, we're going to get our coffee in. So here we go. The first step is going to be about 50 grams or less, just to get the coffee wet. Try and get it nice and even all the way around. We'll just let that sit for a few seconds. Then we're ready to go on a second pour. This is the agitation phase. You can see the color start to change, the crema starting to come out, and you can really be a lot more aggressive with the pour now. And you can even go a step further, and you can pick it up and you can give it a little swirl as we get ready for the final pour, in which we'll pour really slowly and gently right until the 300 grams. So now I'm going to start the final pour. I'm just going to go gentle, round, round. Some people have zigzag techniques, some people have circular. You can go zigzag, but as I said, I want to keep these videos nice and simple. I want people to really just understand the basic fundamentals of specialty coffee. There we go. Quite therapeutic, this. Or if you're in a rush, you could call it quite frustrating. There we go. We're up to the 300 grams, and I'll let that extract. So now here, what we're going to do with this, with French press, what you'll often find is when at the bottom of the cup, you'll get sediment. It's very difficult to stop that completely. But one thing you can do to try and reduce it is to press extremely slowly. So I'm just going to take this off the scales here so I can press a bit harder. And I'm going to press really, really slowly to try and reduce the agitation at this stage. Because one of the downsides of French press is the sediment it can leave in the bottom of the cup. There we go. So I'm just going to pour this into a glass server so that you can see the actual color differences between them. So there we go. Then here we've got this one, which is completed. So you can already see a difference in color. You can see this one's come through a little bit denser, a little bit milkier, for not knowing of a better word to use. This one's a lot cleaner, but it's a bit darker in color. So you're seeing two different flavors being extracted there. We'll try them shortly. What we're going to do now, we're going to move over to the Clever Dripper, which is our shop method. And then we're going to be able to compare the drinks all side by side. With the Clever Dripper, I'm going to use this preferred method of mine, which I believe was developed by Workshop Coffee here in London, which is the water first method. So again, we're going to use a medium grind size. First step, as always, is a paper filter. So what we're going to do, we're going to get the paper filter wet and then pour off the excess. Now we're going to tear the scales. I'm going to put 300 grams of water in. Then we're going to add the coffee, tear the scales, set the timer. And what I'm going to do here is you want to get all of this coffee nice and wet. Don't let the dry bit sit at the top. And you can see what a beautiful color is coming out of this really nice crema. And essentially, we're just going to let that sit for 2 minutes. Just to let you know, all of the coffees that we are making today are with our Brazil, our fermented coffee from Brazil. by producer Antonio Mazzo, who is knocking out some really good coffees. It's available to buy in store and on our web shop, tampcoffee.co.uk. Right, we're just coming up to the 2 minute marker on here. So what we're going to do is almost as if you were cupping a coffee when the crust, layer of crust forms on the top. We're going to break the crust and we're going to push it all to one side, and it's going to let a bunch of these coffee grinds sink to the bottom. Look at that beautiful color on this. It's a really good coffee, this. Give it a few seconds just for those coffee grinds to sink, and then we can start the extraction. Now, what you want to see with any hand brew method is when you look at the bed of coffee, once all the the liquid is extracted, you want to see a relatively level bed. That shows signs of a relatively balanced extraction. Ah, this is really delicious. There we go. That's all done. So this one's taken just over 3.5 minutes, just under 3.5 minutes, sorry. So here you have the three different brew methods. This is the French press, which took us 4 minutes. This is the Kalita 155, which took us just under 3 minutes. And this is the Clever Dripper, which took us just over 3 minutes. So there you go. 3 different techniques to try out and have fun at home.